U.S. Air Force deploy C-17A, P-8A and RC-135 for missions fight against Beijing in South China Sea. A Chinese think tank has accused the United States of sending military aircraft to conduct surveillance missions over waters near Taiwan. According to the South China Sea Strategic Situation Probing Initiative (SCSPI), which operates out of Peking University's Institute of Ocean Research, 3 U.S. warplanes flew over the Bashi Channel and South China Sea on Thursday. On the morning of June 25, US P-8A and RC-135 are conducting reconnaissance in the Number South China Sea, staying focused on the waters east of Number Bashi Channel. Meanwhile, a C-17A Globemaster 3 is flying over the South China Sea, it said in tweet, accompanied by an image of the aircraft's supposed movements. The P-8A Poseidon, which is designed for anti-submarine warfare, RC-135 reconnaissance aircraft and C-17A transport plane were among at least a dozen U.S. warplanes that had been sighted in the region since mid-June, it said. The actions of the U.S. Air Force had prompted the People's Liberation Army, PLA, China's military to increase its own activity in the region, it said. According to the illustration shown on Twitter, the P-8A flew through the Bashi Channel towards the Taiwan-controlled Pratas Islands, a group of 3 atolls in the northern reaches of the South China Sea that are known by Beijing as the Dongsha Islands, before flying close to the southeast coast of the Chinese mainland. Pratas Island, the largest of the 3 atolls, lies midway between China's military base on its island province of Hainan and the Pacific Ocean, and therefore has great strategic significance. Japan's Kyodo news agency reported earlier that the PLA was planning to stage a large-scale landing exercise off Hainan in August, in preparation for the possible future seizure of Pratas Island. Aware of Beijing's plans, the U.S. had deployed electronic warfare aircraft to carry out several intelligence-gathering missions in the same area, the report said. Despite the SCSPI tweet, Taiwan on Thursday declined to confirm any U.S. Air Force activity in the region. However, its defense ministry said PLA Sukhoi 30 and Jan 10 fighter jets and Yun 8 transport planes had entered the southwestern section of Taiwan's air defense identification zone 11 times this month, including 8 times in the past 2 weeks, prompting the island's air force to scramble jets to warn them off. Military analysts said the presence of the P-8A in the region suggested the American missions might have something to do with the movements of the PLA's nuclear-powered submarines close to the Philippine Sea. If China deployed its submarines in the Bashi and Balintang channels between Taiwan and the Philippines, it would serve as a deterrent to U.S. naval operations between the Philippine Sea and South China Sea, said Alexander Huangchiacheng, a professor of international relations at Tamkang University in Taipei. Also, it might imply China's intention to achieve greater sea control between its coast and the first island chain, he said, referring to the waters of the Bohai, Yellow, East China and South China Seas that lie between mainland China and the Western Pacific. Huang said that although the American and Chinese militaries had ramped up their activities in the waters and skies around Taiwan in recent months, it did not necessarily mean the situation had arisen out of a lack of trust. Rather, it's down to an absence of efficient communication and meaningful military-to-military dialogue, he said. Couple that with the hawkish comments coming out of Beijing and Washington, and it was inevitable there would be more misunderstanding and miscalculation by the military, he said. In an article published in Singaporean newspaper The Straits Times on Monday, Beijing's ambassador to the city-state Hong Xiaoyong accused U.S. Secretary of Defense Mark Esper of fueling tensions by labeling China a threat and calling for joint deterrence. A week earlier, in an opinion piece carried by the same newspaper, Esper called for closer security ties between the U.S. and its allies in Southeast Asia amid challenges posed by COVID-19 and the Chinese Communist Party. U.S. Pacific Air Forces Commander General Charles Brown echoed that sentiment on Wednesday, saying he was concerned by the increase in China's military activity in the region. He said that when he assumed regional command in 2018, he is set to leave the position next month. The PLA hardly ever flew its H-6 bombers over water. Now it's an everyday occurrence, he said. I'm concerned by increasingly opportunistic activity by China to coerce its neighbors and press its unlawful maritime claims, while the region and the world is focused on addressing the COVID-19 pandemic.